Hi, my name is John Mitchell. I'm the CEO and founder of Think It, Beate. And in my episode for Business Growth Architect Show, what I'm going to share with you is a 12-minute a day technique that caused my own income to go up by 25 times over what it was the prior 20 years. And I discovered this from figuring out the full secret that is only alluded to in the book Think and Grow Rich. And so go over to the show as soon as possible, and I'll share with you what the full secret of the legendary book Think and Grow Rich is.
Hello, fabulous person. Beate Chelette here, the Growth Architect. Welcome back to the Business Growth Architect Show, where we bring you cutting edge business strategies from some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, business transformation experts, and visionaries who want to help you to scale your impact. Look for one tangible strategy that you can take back and implement right away. And now back to our guest. And welcome back. This is your host, Beate Chelette. And today we have John Mitchell from Think It, Beate on the call with us today. And I am going to open this with a provocative question, John.
Okay,
Are you as successful as you should be?
I am now, but I wasn't when I turned 50.
So the
Yeah.
reason I asked you this question right from the get-go is that you are specialized in helping people to break through the mental part about success. So tell us who you are and what you do, and then we'll dive right back into that question and share with our listeners, the Beehive, on how they can be as successful as they should be. So tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, basically, I started out as a CPA, became an entrepreneur when I was 30, and when I hit 50, I really wasn't as successful as I thought I should be. And I had really two goals in my life. One was to make enough money so I didn't have to work, and the other one was to find the woman of my dreams. And so at 50, unfortunately, I was falling short on both of them. And on the money, as an entrepreneur, I always made 200, $300,000 a year net. But at 50, I realized, as materialistic as this sounds, that to have the exceptional life I always dreamed of, I had to start netting over $1 million a year. And on the girl at 50, I'd never been married, although I did a lot of interviewing. But nevertheless, well, I called it interviewing. My friends called it baking. But at 50, I'm like, boy, how do I change things? And then a pearl of wisdom came to me probably 3 months after I turned 50. And that pearl of wisdom was go find the top book in the world on success and literally apply that book word for word to my life. And so as that idea comes to me, immediately I jump out of bed and do my research, and I discovered that there's one book that's been read by over 100 million people, and the next best-selling book on success has been read by less than 10 million people. And that book, as you probably know, is
Think
Think
and
and Grow
Grow
Rich.
Rich. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking, boy, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And so the next day, I was like a heat seeking missile. I went to the bookstore, bought the book, read the book, and then I saw the problem. The book says there's a secret for success, but the author only gives you half of the secret. It's on the reader to figure out the other half. Well, I'm disappointed and I mope around for probably a couple of weeks. And then one day I just get up and go, John, just man up and figure out the full secret. And so over the next couple of months, I probably read the book, I don't know, 20 times. I've just immersed myself in it night and day. And what emerged was I figured out the full secret and a 12-minute a day technique to apply it. And so I started applying it to a new company I was starting in the reverse mortgage field. And to the point where 4 years later, I was blessed to making 25 times the 200 to 300,000 a year I'd made the prior 20 years. And boy, I felt so blessed. But what was cool was I could see why it was all happening. I was just playing the game of life at a higher level, and I could feel it. And I could just do things I couldn't do before, and just became fascinated by the fact that I could take two key scientific principles and apply them to my life, and so materially impact my income. And so that's basically my story.
So there's a lot to unpack here. So I have read Think and Grow Rich not 20, but a couple of times. And what strikes me about the book is that he says you have to follow everything exactly like he outlines it. But then I still kind of didn't really entirely know what I was supposed to do, right?
Right.
Which I think is exactly what you're talking about. Because the let's be honest here, I think The Secret has done a great disservice to a lot of the mindset part of success, is because people have assumed wrongfully that you can sit on a couch, eat Funyuns, and then magically things are going to happen. So there has to be an action. But
Man, I completely agree with you.
But the action part is, I think, the problem. So depending on who I listen to, and I'm going to preset this up so we can get into your magic, your 12-minute magic, is that on the one hand, I need to believe it and act as if to make it happen. On the other end, I need to take massive action, but I'm not clear what the massive action is. Then, depending on who I listen to, it says, no, 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 that's all wrong, because you need to create the space, because the magic happens in the space. If the space is full, nothing can kind of come in. Now I'm really confused. So now I come to you and you say you are mental, not a mindset coach. So how can you help me figure this out in 12 minutes a day?
Well, it's what you just said is really spot on. Because as good as Think and Grow Rich is, it doesn't like it's alluded in the book. It doesn't tell you what the secret is, and you're left sort of figuring out what it is. The part that he gives you is that everything starts with a thought. Well, where do you go with that? I mean, we all agree, but where do you go with that, right?
A hundred
And
percent. And you told me this number. You said 95% of all my thoughts are unconscious or subconscious.
right.
I kind of like the idea that it's an unconscious thought, because a lot of people are unconscious, but let's just say it's 95% are subconscious thoughts. So yeah, so what? Am I gonna go and lasso in 95% of my thoughts that are just kind of like happen? Help me out here.
Okay, let me explain it to you. Um, and it's best to explain this to you via a story. And there's a little bit of a backstory to my original story that I told you. So when I was turning 50, my mom was dying of pancreatic cancer, and so every day I would go to the hospital and see her, and hold her hand and love on her, and then walk into the hospital parking lot and just cry my eyes out. And that this would happen for 30 minutes, 45 minutes every night, just crying my eyes out. And this is going on for like 8 weeks. Well, I knew I was feeling something that, I mean, obviously I'm losing my mom, uh, but I knew there was something deeper going on. And what I realized was that, my mom and dad gave me everything. They sent me to Jesuit high school in Dallas, a private school. Um, they sent me to the University of Texas, and I didn't have to pay for anything. And they gave me everything. And as she's dying and I'm turning 50, all I have to show for my life is an average life. And I hated the average life. absolutely hated the average life because I knew I was capable of so much more. But I see now that that feeling that I had was like rocket fuel in causing me to go deeper into Think and Grow Rich than maybe anybody else on the planet. And that's why I believe I was able to figure out the full secret. And so let me evolve to teaching you the full secret of it. So, and this is still in this time frame where I'm going to the hospital every night, and this one particular night, it was snowing in Dallas, and it doesn't snow in Dallas very often, and so it just felt different. So I go to the hospital, love on my mom, go in the in the parking lot, cry my eyes out for 45 minutes. I start driving home, and I um, just feel that it's different. I get home and I decide to start reading Think and Grow Rich again, probably for the 20th time. And I read two things that are really interesting. First, it says, uh, your success in life comes down to your daily actions. The cumulative effect of your daily actions determine your success in each area of your life. I'm like, okay, I buy that. I never thought of it like that, but I buy it. And then I read that essentially 95% of your daily actions are unconscious. I'm like, well, now I'm sort of ready to go to bed, and I go brush my teeth, wash my face, and climb in bed, and I'm laying there and I'm thinking, wow, 95% of my daily actions are unconscious. Yet those daily actions are the very thing that determines my success. Therefore, I don't have control of my success essentially, and I don't have control of my daily actions. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I know I control something, and then it sort of hits me. I control my intentions. I control my intentions, and so as I come to realize that, then the full secret of Think and Grow Rich really comes to me. And here it is. What you envision in detail with emotion on a daily basis is what shows up in your life. And let me say that again. What you envision in detail with emotion on a daily basis is what shows up in your life. And what that means is the first step is you create immense clarity about your life, exactly the person you want to be, exactly what you want to accomplish, and precisely how you're going to achieve your clearly defined goals. Then, once you create that clarity, we do it through a template, through a questionnaire. Then you take that clarity and put it on a template so that it's succinct enough that you can read it 12 minutes a day, and it also is specific. So that's sort of the step two is you put it on the template. And then step three is you start reading it every day as your new morning routine. And after approximately 21 days, the magic happens, the science kicks in, you've rewired your autopilot, and then the right actions start happening automatically without thinking. And the effect of this is three things. First off, you feel immense sense of control over your life because, of course, you would. You're feeding the succinct articulation of your life to yourself every day. So, of course, you feel control. And the second thing you experience is immense confidence, which is a direct result of that control. And the third thing is, like I said, the right actions start happening automatically without thinking, and it truly feels like a superpower. Does
So,
that make sense?
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I want to get a little bit more specific about sort of an example, right? So, let's say somebody says, I want to be $1 million entrepreneur. So, they may even have gone to the point and said, that means if I am making $1 million, I'm impacting 500 people a year with what I do, right?
Right.
So now we have this model. Is that good enough, or is it about something I want? So for example, like I have a goal where I want to join a particular organization, but I have to have a particular number of revenue to get
Right.
there.
Right.
And to me, that's a better emotional goal because I'm starting to recognize the emotional aspect of it. So if I were to set just a financial goal, it just doesn't resonate with me as much as saying, I want to join. I see myself having joined the organization because if I'm in the organization, it means that I have this financial goal.
Right.
Help me and our listeners here really to understand what these nuances are in this envisioning of that, because I think that's where people get hung up. They go,
Right.
I want to have a Mustang. It has to be red. I want it by 2024. I want to live in the suburbs of Dallas. But it, to me, this always kind of feels a little flat. So help us to get the emotional aspect figured out.
Right. Right. Very good question. Well, and you sort of alluded to it. Here's the problem with the secret, just what you said. Uh, you can't just envision what you like or what you want, and it just comes to you. That's BS. That's not how this works. Um, how it works is, sure, you got to envision what you want, whatever that is, and see it in detail. But the critical component is, how are you going to get it? What are the actions that you're going to take to get it? And that's the only way this works, is when you combine clarity about what you want, the person you want to be, starting with what you want, and then how you're going to get what you want. You got to see that in detail. And then when you see that in detail and you feed that to yourself every day, of course, it impacts your daily actions. And those upgraded daily actions then create the life you want. It's profoundly simple.
So now I'm sitting here. Now I have I'm gonna get your template. I'm gonna get very clear. It's like I'm seeing myself, I'm attending meetings, I'm going to annual events, I'm meeting a lot of fabulous people, I'm getting inspired. So that's my vision. That's how I start to lay this
Right.
out. And I'm just gonna put this in a business goal. Of course, we can do, as you
Right.
said, finding the partner of your dreams, having better relationships with your children, health, whatever that sort of might be. But let's just, for simplicity purpose, because we talk about authority, platform building, and how to be an authority, how to make a larger impact on this show. I'm just going to pick that because I believe that is aligned with my vision, with my mission. So if I meet more people that are like me, I get more referrals. They see what I do, they see my brilliance. I pick up more business automatically. They're referring me. So now somehow automatically things are going to fall into place and I can continue to grow the business the way I envision it. Now, the part that I think a lot of people still struggle with now is the am I just so I got this, but how do I figure out what the right actions are to take? Because I think that there is a lot of us that are control freaks, John, and where we go, well, I have put in $200,000 in internet marketing programs. I have, read the books. I'm super efficient with my day. I calendar. I productivity, whatever. But how do I know that the actions are the right actions that get me there? And do I have control over them? Should I
Right.
have control over them?
Well, if you're talking about career, here's how I do it. I make a person define like 6 key things about their business. What is your succinct business plan? What is your strategy for success? What are the 2 or 3 things that move the needle in the business? Where do you want to be in 3 years from now? In terms of revenues and maybe a number of employees. what are the milestones to get there? There's probably 4 or 5 milestones to get there. And then what is the linchpin issue to go to the next level? And when you take your business and divide it into those 6 components, and you really spend the time to sit down and think through that, and that strategies for success is critical, because you're really looking at, how am I going to be successful in this business? What what separates me from the other people in the business? But and in my technique, the 12 minutes a day is simple. It's creating that clarity, but it all starts with really, it all starts by defining you as a person, your top 3 values, just who you are, and then it evolves to uh, articulating those 6 things. And when you do that, then the actions become pretty clear. Uh, it's a formula that just works.
All right, I love that. And more on mental mindset and achieving your goals in 1 minute after this message. Thank you so much for listening to the show. This is Beate, the growth architect. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for your time. Have you ever wondered why your business is not growing as quickly as you would like it to be? Well, you may have a business growth blocker. And if you'd like to find out what that business growth blocker is, go and take our brand new quiz at growthblockerquiz.com. And in only a few minutes, you're not just going to find out what that blocker is, but also what to do about it. Again, go to growthblockerquiz.com. And now back to the show. John, you just said something very important that I think we need to point out to our beehive, is that you said that there has to be an alignment or congruency. And there is very much a piece about me and what I truly believe in that needs to be aligned with the goal that I want to achieve.
Mhm.
Are you telling me this because if there's a mismatch, and I see this when we work with conscious entrepreneurs all the time, the
Mhm.
minute I talk about money, they shut down. They get frazzled, they get freaked out, which is why we talk about impact, because if you make a lot of impact and you help a lot of people, you automatically make more money, right? So we kind of like skirt this. What happens if somebody does not do that piece? And is there, if it's not congruent, or if the language of the desire is not congruent, can it still work? Or is that why a lot of people can't figure this out?
I don't think it can work. That be, but basically, this is the law of attraction, but the intelligent law of attraction, not the law of attraction that I think of something enough that it happens. It's just the fundamental law of attraction that you decide what you want, and the second part, seeing how you're going to get it, and then feeding that to yourself every day. And that, but it's got to be, true to you. That's why you have to understand you. Why are you doing this? What emotionally is driving you to do this? And once you get in touch with your why, and then you'll start seeing the how, and then you feed all that to yourself every day.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I have 3 very simple questions that I ask my clients in growth architecture. I said, you know, is it possible? Is anybody doing it? Yes. So if it's possible for somebody else, is it possible for you? Yes. Well, if it's possible for you, then the third question is very easy. How? Right? Because then we're shifting out of anything into an action, in an action kind of question. Are you using that question of the how as well? How is it possible? Or is there a complete leaning into your success method to say, I don't really even have to do that because I know if I follow that, then this is going to happen.
Well, your brain functions like my brain does because I look at it just like you do. Like, with my clients, typically they're making 200, 300,000 a year, just like I was, and they want to start netting $1 million a year. And my first question to them is there anybody else in your business that's netting $1 million a year? And usually there is. And I'm like, well, this is simple. Let's just go see what they're doing. Let's model after them and do
Follow
it
the
better.
formula, right?
Right. Why recreate the wheel?
Yeah.
Let's just go, duplicate what they're doing and maybe do it better. Pretty
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely love that. And then finally, I want to ask you about those pesky subconscious or unconscious thoughts. When our brain encounters a signal that there's change that's imminent, I have found that I always jokingly say, John, people love change as long as it doesn't involve change.
Right. Right.
Right. Or as my partner said when I moved in, he says you can do whatever you want as long as you don't change anything with the house,
Hmm.
which just don't throw that out, but don't touch that. And I'm like, well, you just told me that I can do whatever I want, and yet here you are, and every single like Avon perfume from 1980 we need to be holding on to, as she exaggerated jokingly, not so jokingly though. but
Right.
but how do we manage these moments where doubt comes, and the minute that doubt comes in, that there is this opening in the crack in the armor, the water comes in, and then the flood waters open, the dam breaks, and everything you ever screwed up in your entire life, every idea you ever had that failed, is volunteering to fall into that crack. What do we do?
Well, there's an answer to that. But let me get at the essence of it. This whole thing comes down to whether you believe that 95% of your daily actions are unconscious or not. You either believe it or you don't. And, you can Google it and just literally Google what percentage of my daily actions are unconscious, and you'll see it says 95%. But I don't think that makes people necessarily believe it. Yet, learning that 95% of my daily actions are unconscious was the most profound thing I ever learned. Because once I learned that, and then I learned how to influence those daily actions, I'm like, sure, today, before I started doing this, of course, I'm playing the game of life at 10 to 20% of my potential. If 95% of my daily actions are unconscious, and that's why so many people have this feeling in the pit of their stomach that there's more gas in the tank than they can get to. Well, sure, because you're playing the game of life at 10 to 20% of your potential. And until you start influencing those daily actions, 95% of which are unconscious, you're going to be playing the game of life at 10 to 20%. And so it comes down to, do you believe it or not? And we could spend 10 minutes and I could prove it to you, but trust me, your daily actions are unconscious. You're in the moment, and the vast majority of them are unconscious. And I mean, I can give you an example. You want an example?
Yeah, go ahead, please. I think this is like one of the most important things that we talked about, because people are reactionary,
Right,
but you're not even talking about reactionary. You're talking on a much deeper level than
right,
reactionary,
right.
right? Because that's
Well,
already acting on something. Go ahead.
here's the thing. The two things. Uh, People will go, well, wait a minute. I don't buy that I'm playing at 10 to 20% of my potential. And I'm like, but you are, because of two facts. One is you're innately wired to survival, which causes 90% of your thoughts to be fear-based, and you're reactive rather than proactive on your agenda. And so, first of all, you're innately wired to be wired for survival. But the second thing is this, what we keep on going back to, that 95% of your daily actions are unconscious. And the effect of both those things is that when you open your eyes each morning, you're on autopilot most of the day, innately wired to be fear-based and reactive, which is exactly the opposite of how you need to be if you want to be productive, creative, and happy. And so you override those two things by programming yourself 12 minutes a day. And here's the example I was going to give you. And this will show you how your actions are unconscious. So I had a client of mine come here to Texas, and he came to San Antonio, which is about an hour from where I am in Austin. And it was around Christmas, and so I decided to go see him, and I was going to get my wife to go with me, and it's a Friday
Hold
afternoon,
on,
and
hold on, hold on. So you did manifest the woman of your dreams.
I did,
I
I
was going to
did,
ask you that. So everyone, he did it. Go ahead.
yes, and believe me, that was way more important than the money. Uh, but So I tell her, I go, Jen, meet me at Starbucks at 2 o'clock, and we'll jump in my car and go off to San Antonio. And so, like I said, this is around Christmas, so I get there a little early, and I decide I'm going to have a brownie. I start eating the brownie, and in my 12-minute a day technique, I affirm to myself that I'm aware of everything I put in my mouth. Okay, I'm eating that brownie. I am aware of it, and I'm aware it doesn't taste very good. But that doesn't stop me from finishing it. And so I finish it. The gin shows up. We jump in my car. We drive to San Antonio, and I tell her, I just don't feel very good. I just lost my appetite. And so that night, when we get back home, I go in my template and change one word from I'm aware of everything I put in my mouth to I evaluate everything I put in my mouth. Well, the next night we go out and have Mexican food with her son, and I order tacos. Tacos come, they're not very good. Uh, but this time I'm evaluating everything I'm putting in my mouth, and I just slide those tacos away and don't have another bite. All happens unconsciously. Uh, and that night, as I'm laying in bed, I'm like, boy, if that's not a superpower, when you can make yourself take the right actions automatically without thinking, that's a superpower. And here's why that works right at the point you're talking about. Here's how the human mind works. Um, the conscious mind sets your intention based on logic, but the subconscious mind controls your daily actions, and it is influenced only by repetition. And so, an example is, let's say you want to lose weight. The intention to lose weight is based on the logic of the health benefits. But the reason people don't lose weight is not from lack of intention, it's from lack of influencing that part of the brain that controls their daily actions, their eating and their exercise. And that part of the brain is only concerned with repetition. It can only be influenced by repetition. It doesn't care about logic. And the way it works, and you're using this technique back to my eating example, is that when you feed this clarity to yourself every day, um, every action you're taking requires an emotional decision. And then over the next 50 milliseconds to 2 seconds, that decision is supported with logic. So every action requires an emotional decision that is supported by logic. And what happens is at a subconscious level, as you're eating, as I was at that Mexican food restaurant, um, because I had reprogrammed myself, I evaluated what I was eating, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze, essentially, and I automatically pushed it away because all that happened unconsciously. You know, we don't operate where every single thing we do is conscious. Like I can touch my forehead because I have the intention to do it, but that's not how the vast majority of your actions happen. It's all happening subconsciously.
Yeah, I mean, I have a really great, a simple way that I found works for me. You know, I love chocolate,
Hmm.
but I say if I am going to put the calories in, the bite has to be worth it.
Absolutely.
If the chocolate is just chocolate, you know, and forgive me for Hershey lovers, I don't think Hershey chocolate is very good, but I'm from Europe, you know, so
Sure.
we are used to the melt in your mouth kind of like amazing chocolate. So that's my standard. No judgment. Uh, but if I put that in my mouth, I need to have that experience where I'm going, oh, that is so good. If
Right.
I don't have that, it's not worth it to me because
Absolutely.
it's not an experience. Another friend of mine, a client of mine actually puts it in a wonderful perspective. She says, I do it for the experience. If the experience is not good, I'm not doing it.
Right. Right.
So I think that's also another way to say, how do I make decisions based upon a criteria that I have set for myself that then becomes a non-negotiable criteria because I set it for myself. That's my standard. That's my boundary, my setting. And that I think really helps with all of this. John, we could talk for hours, as probably everybody has figured out by now. But where can our beehive find you and connect with you and learn more about this? And where can they get their hands on this 12-minute outline?
Well, my website is thinkitbeeit.com, and I have a special gift for you that I just created not too long ago, like a week ago. I created a 9-minute video that explains this in detail. Um, and if you will, your audience will email me at john@thinkitbeeit.com. I'll send you the video.
Wonderful. And we'll put it in the show notes so that everybody can follow that. But you know, I talk a lot about mindset on the show, and I talk to a lot of people that have this mastered. I do think that what we talked about today is very actionable and very specific. And everybody has 12 minutes a day. Let's just get that out of the way, right?
Right.
You do have 12 minutes a day. There is no excuse. So thank you so much, John, for being on the show. It was amazing to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on it.
And that's it for us today. Thank you so much for listening or watching. And I see you again next time. This is Beate Chelette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye. And that's it for us today. Thank you for listening and watching the Business Growth Architect Show. I enjoyed having you here. And for accountability, just take one of the strategies that you have heard, one thing that you can implement in your business immediately. Please leave comments. Don't forget to like and share this show. And if you have any questions about business, please put them in the comments. We are here for you. We're here to support you and help you to grow, build, and scale your own business. For more advice, please check out our website in the show notes below. Thank you again. This is Beate Chelette, the Growth Architect, and goodbye.